Good evening to everyone that's joined us this evening. Hope that you all really enjoyed the countdown into our webinar today, and we've got an awful lot to cover off as we go. It's a really exciting webinar, really educational for our community across the board. I can see that we've got an awful lot of different types of people, all sorts of nationalities with us as well, which is fantastic. So what I'd like to do first and foremost is just give you a bit of an introduction to me and what this evening will ultimately consist of. And we'll really just keep it high energy, a lot of knowledge within the marketplace and more. So my name is Daniel Pennington. I am the managing director for Portico Invest. We have a fantastic network all across the UK and overseas. And ultimately, we sell property in key areas of the UK, high performing cities, locations, and more. We've got a very dedicated team of professionals, and we're here to help you on your investment journey. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to myself. On this webinar this evening, we have our partners addressed here with us. We have two very experienced people, owners of the business, Matt and Matthew, that will be joining later on. They're going to sort of walk through who they are, what they do, the services that they offer. There'll be some sort of incentives as we go as well. And there's also going to be an opportunity to book in your consultation as we go, in order for you to sit with our experienced consultants and discuss the options that we have available. Okay, so we'll get started and take the evening on from there. So let me share the screen. You should all see an introduction to Portico as a whole, and our specialist partner addressed, who, as I said, you will get more information on later in the evening. So as mentioned before, we've got all sorts of different people. We've got people in here this evening from Africa, from Nigeria. We've got people across the UK. We've got some people in the Middle East, the US, I can see. And there'll be a full sort of Q&A towards the end of this evening as well. So let me walk you through who we are in a little bit more detail. Okay, so we have an office in the north of the UK, in Warrington. Okay, we have an office in central London as well, which is just based close to London Bridge, with a team of over 20 professionals across the board. Now, I've already given you a bit of background about myself. I think what's important to highlight is that I do have circa 20 years of experience within the residential investment sector. So I've spent time over in the Middle East, almost 5 years, selling property in the Middle East. I've sold property in the UK, other parts of the world as well. I'm very familiar with most countries that will invest into the UK market. So I have an awful lot of experience that I pass down to the rest of my team, that obviously then pass that on to their clients as well, which is really important. Okay, so that's me. Now, as a company, we are very consultative. Now, you know, we take people on a journey that allows them to feel comfortable, confident in their in sort of their ability to understand that Portico are the right person, the right company that they should be dealing with. Now, we have an awful lot of services that we offer that kind of just bring it all in-house, if you like. Okay, now what we do is we strategy build for our clients. And what I mean by that is, not only do we qualify people in the right way, we go through a full presentation as to why the UK investment market is very attractive, why the projects, the locations that we offer yield you a fantastic return over time. But what's important as part of our initial consultation is us understanding your criteria, your motivation as to why it is that you're looking to invest. We can then take that away, tailor a proposal that will suit your needs, and ultimately move on from there along the journey. Okay. Now we help strategy build, and that is you releasing equity over a period of time, reinvesting that equity into more properties, and continuing that cycle over a 5-year, 10-year period, whether that is for generational wealth or whether you're looking for early retirement. That's exactly what we can help you with. Now, we have hand-picked development as well. And what I mean by that is that we have a team that do rigorous due diligence on the developers that we work with. We ensure that they have a great track record, they've delivered on time. We also are financially committed to the developments that we promote and we sell, which is very, very important. And in a nutshell, anything that we don't sell as a business, we have to then go on and complete ourselves. So that's how important it is for us to sell the right product to the right clients. But what it really shows you is that we have that confidence in the product that we are trying to sell because we are committed from a financial standpoint. Now, what's really important for not just our UK clients, but our overseas clients as well, is that we work very closely with the financial institutions. So I'm talking about the right mortgage brokers within the space that we are in, as in, investment property, the right type of brokers that have the right relationships with the right lenders. We can understand even before your journey starts, which lender will be more suited, based on nationality, based on capital, as in sort of loan to value, what that looks like. We know what we are talking about when it comes to that of mortgage rates, products, loan to values, how you can release equity, who is eligible, who is not, all of that. Okay, so that's what we can help you with. And a turnkey service being, we can sell you a property, we can discuss the strategy building side of things, we can help you set up a limited company, we can help you with the management side of the property, and we can help you in the future look to resell and reinvest. Okay, so that's a bit more about us. Now, we have excellent Trustpilot reviews online. Now, if you look online, you will see over 207 reviews as of today on Trustpilot. We're rated excellent. We've got some fantastic comments from all walks of life, loads and loads of different nationalities, and most of our consultants, if not all of our consultants, have got positive responses. So again, that gives you that sort of confidence in our ability to service everyone, which is really, really, really key. Okay. Now, you'll see some of our team here as well. This is over in our Warrington office. We do have a bigger team across the two, but we only had the photographer in for just a few hours that day, so that's why we've cut that down a little bit. Now, this is the buying process. Okay. Now, we don't need to read this, or I don't need to read this word for word. Okay, but it just explains the consultation process that we follow, and this is free. It's free to you. It's free for anyone that's just looking to invest for the first time. It's free for seasoned investors. What we really thrive on is building relationships with clients, and ultimately that will mean that they will buy more from us, but the relationship is more important than us just making a commission. Okay, so we have an initial meeting, post a sort of qualification call, full presentation, full understanding of the market. We've got additional meetings. We have cash flow meetings all the way through to the very end. We have the reservation meeting, exchange of contracts within 28 days. We provide construction updates every 8 weeks as well, so we keep people well informed. We have a customer care manager that will have conversations with clients to keep them verbally updated, as well as emails that are sent out to them on a regular basis. We can help you with the finance, as in via our mortgage broker network. We also assist all the way up until completion with the lenders that we work with, the lawyers that we work with, and we ensure a smooth transaction from when you complete, you hand it over your keys, and our management company address, then take you on the journey, and you see a rental return from there. Okay, so that's the process that we follow. Now, what's really key is the fundamentals of making money from property. Now, a lot of people don't go into too much detail around this, and it's very important to understand what they are, regardless of how experienced you are or not. And for me, there are 6 key fundamentals, and it's exactly what you see here: supply and demand. Okay, and it's exactly that. We sell in locations, in cities that have a demand for the supply. Okay, the demand outweighs the supply, right? So the supply will continue on, the right projects will be built in the right locations, but ultimately, if you're buying in a performing city like the cities that we sell in, you're buying in regeneration zones as well. So you'll see as we move into the slides that regeneration is absolutely key to the success of the investment. Okay, so that's supply and demand. Affordability, again, what we look at here is we look at the average salaries of professionals within key cities. We can look at the top tier, the mid tier, the low tier. We can understand what the sort of plans are over the next 5 years, 10 years. How affordable are the properties that we are selling on behalf of the investors? Because what's important is that a lot of the professionals in key cities, they will initially rent and they'll save up, they'll get the cash together to be able to go on and buy properties, but it's becoming harder and harder for them. But that benefits you as the landlord, because that means the occupancy levels are always going to be pretty high. Okay. Now, key movements, again, I'm stating the obvious here. Bank of England base rate recently was reduced, which is fantastic. We have further knowledge on that as we move into the next few months, that again, it will reduce down even more so. That 4.75% level is absolutely vital to provide the right interest rates, which helps bolster your returns. But the Bank of England goal is ultimately to get this down to 3% by the end of the year, and then even further down to 2%. Okay. So when you're buying off-plan investment property, you take that into account as well as capital growth. You're looking at key cities, you're looking at averages of around 5 to 5.5% per annum. That's your appreciation that you can expect in order for you to then build up the equity, release the equity, reinvest, and go again. Okay. And that's how we help you with the strategy building or the portfolio building. Rental growth and yield, you've got to buy in the right cities that are providing exactly that. You're seeing a growth on the rental, on the property prices, a lot of regeneration. It's the right city, it's got the right transport links, and that's absolutely vital. Okay. And social and economic changes. So again, this is ever changing. There's also a lot of things that you can look at here. And what happens in every single city will determine what the next 10 years look like as a whole. Okay, so they're the fundamentals of making money from property. Now, making money from property, why invest in the UK market? Which maybe to some, I'm stating the obvious here, but what's really, really important is to look at the stats, look at the figures that give you a real indication as to where they are now, where they're going. So this is the base rate. Okay, if we go back to 1975, January 75, you can see how that was upwards of around 11%. It's sort of fluctuated up and down. It's gone all the way up to that 15% mark. It's gone down again in 77, all the way up. You can see our highest point on the base rate side of things was in 1979, when the base rate was almost 17%. Now, can you imagine if that was the case today? No one would ultimately have a property, because there'd be no money in it at all. So 17%. So how that's dipped over time is exactly what you can see here, all the way through the 80s, back up again, sort of mid to late 80s, back up all the way through. And then what we did see as a country is in the '07 crash, the big recession that happened, that hit the UK hard, that really ensured the base rate plummeted over a period of, well, up until we all know really the last few years. I mean, the lowest point was back in 2017 when the base rate was closer to around 0.25%. Okay. Obviously, it's increased since then, but it's coming back to a steady sort of level now, which is fantastic for everyone looking to buy properties and even who are remortgaging their properties. Okay. So that's really, really important. You can also see here the average house price, and this sort of takes it from January 2005 to 2023 was around £285,000. That's the average across the UK. And the annual house price inflation is the highest in the Northeast, would you believe? So, it's the Northwest that's in second place. And the Northwest is where it has the performing cities, the Liverpools, the Manchester, the Birminghams, Leicester. They are the performing cities of the Northwest. Okay. So which areas are growing? And again, it's a bit of a continuation to the last slide. You can see here that it's actually the opposite between the Northeast and the Northwest. The Northwest is on top. So as 2025, 5% is what is expected. Okay. And then we see an increase in 26, 27, a bit of a decrease, and then a decrease again and a decrease again. And that's because we have to be realists, right? We have to be very conservative about how this fluctuates over time. We don't want to be a company that really tells everyone that you're going to see 5% for the next 5 years, because we've got to be really real about how things go up and down. But what you can see is over the next 5 years, you'll see a 29.4% increase on your property price, but only if you're investing in the right cities, the right locations that are providing the right level of growth. Okay. Really, really important. Now, you'll again see at the bottom, UK inflation, where that was back in 2021, how that increased around the sort of days of COVID, how that's dipped again to where we are now. Back in September, it was 1.7. We're back up to around the 2.4 mark as it stands. But again, we're on the right track as a whole. So that is some really important and useful information for you. And you can also see the average gross rental yield in the Northwest is around 6.66%. Okay, as an average. So 5-year forecast. This is it's more visual for you. So, everyone can see here a map of the UK. We've got sort of pointers to each location. Obviously, for me, the area of focus will be the Northwest. What we predict over a period of 2024 to 2028 is that of around 28.8% growth. Okay, which is super, super, super attractive to you investors that have either bought in the Northwest or have got the opportunity to buy, but just need to know more from the likes of us as a company. Okay. Now, as a whole, in the Northwest, as much as I've touched about Liverpool and Leicester, Birmingham, Manchester, there's other parts of the UK as well. Over in West Lancashire, we have places like Cleveleys, again, super high growth over a period of time, which is close to Blackpool. There's other really, really attractive locations. Okay, so as we move on, regeneration hotspot. So what's really, really important is when you invest in any UK property, you've got to invest in a zone that has regeneration, because what's the point in investing in a project that has really nothing but other buildings around them? It's important to make sure that you're very strategic about where you're investing, which is what we can help you with as a consultative business. If you buy in a regeneration area, you're buying the growth within that area over the next 5 to 10 years. So if there's regen of, let's say, to the value of 50 million to 100 million pounds, it's going to deliver so much to the local cities. It's going to deliver, new new professionals, new employees, more renters, more businesses, more everything. Okay, you have to align that with your investment as well. So if you invest with us, for example, and your project's ready later this year or early next year, and you're in a zone of regeneration, then it will all go hand in hand, not just the capital appreciation of the city, but you should see even more of that with how the regeneration zones continue to build out. A prime example for everyone here with us tonight is places like Liverpool, right? Liverpool as a city. You've got Liverpool waterfront, you've Liverpool Waters, Peel Ports, all of that land is owned by one entity, okay? So you've got developers who are developing and developing, and they're going all the way out towards the back end of the city centre. You know, these are huge areas of growth that are going to deliver so much to the city over a period of time. And as that continues, the property price continues to increase as well. All right, so really important. So this is the part of the evening where you, as a client, have the opportunity to book in a consultation with our business. Okay, so you can all see here the pop-up. Now, this allows you to have a consultation with one of our consultants, and they'll go through who we are, again, what we do, the services, the returns on the projects, the locations that we have. So if you really want to know more, please book your consultation with us. And that pop-up I will keep here all the way through the webinar until we move on towards the end, and we have a Q&A at the same time. Okay, so please book away if you haven't already. I can see there's quite a few people that have booked already, so don't miss out on the opportunity to do so as we go. Now, what's really important is we have an investment payment structure. Okay, now that basically is broken down, as you can see here. So if you were to reserve a property with our business, now it's very important to understand that you've gone through this whole consultation with us already. We get to the point where you're happy to go ahead with an option. You will then sign a reservation form. You will pay a holding fee of £750. We will then put you through the anti-money laundering process, which is the standard AML process that the lawyers in the UK will put you through as well whenever you buy a property. We will do that, and once you pass, we will then raise an invoice. You will be invoiced for a 5% fee, which is 5% of the purchase price, which is a contribution towards your deposit due on exchange of contracts within 28 days. It's not an additional fee. It's just us as the agent holding on to part deposit up until the point of exchange of contracts. Okay, I can see that we've got quite a lot of bookings here over the next few days. So please, guys, keep booking away before these slots fill up. Really important to do so. It's free, right? It's free advice that hopefully involves us, helping you on your journey. Now, you'll exchange contracts within 28 days. You'll then go on and complete later on. And we then have completion that follows through, depending on the project, all the way from Q2 to Q3 into 2026 as well. All right. So we also have, as a business, 10% discounts on the properties that we offer. Okay. Now we have 10% discount off the sale price. So our investor price for all of our investors, it's an opportunity for you to get in early because the prices will increase over time all the way up until completion. So it's really important to focus on exactly that with us, which all goes hand in hand with the returns that you can expect as well. Okay. That we can tell you more of when you book in a consultation with us. We'll go through the cash flow, we'll go through the detail. You can get a better understanding of it and you will not be disappointed. Okay. There's also an attendee exclusive, which again, I will let Address talk more about that when I pass that over to them just shortly. I'll give a full introduction once I end my slides in just a second. And again, another opportunity to book in your meeting. So please, guys, there's enough people in this room this evening. Get your bookings in. Let's discuss how we can help you make an absolute ton of money from investing in the properties that we have. We have property prices from 160,000 to 200 to 230 in performing cities with only an entry level amount of capital of circa 50k, £50,000. All right. So please book away if you haven't already. So let me take a breath, because what I would like to do now is I would like to introduce you to Matthew and Martin, who are the partners of Addressed, who are one of the leading rental management companies in the UK. Now, both Martin and Matthew can walk you through all of their services, tell you a little bit about them, and then I will come back into the room once they're finished. We'll have a bit of a Q&A, and then we'll wrap things up the evening. So, Martin, Matthew,
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks for the kind introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm Martin.
I'm Matt.
Let's just see if we can get this going. Here we go. So before talking about the company, let's introduce you to us. So I'm something of a lifer in the property investment industry. I got in because a little over 20 years ago, I had a secret millionaire moment. So when I was traveling around Australia, I met some people that I perceived to be struggling a little bit in life. And I was very wrong about that. I was around the dinner table. I was just saying goodbye to them after spending a couple of months with them. And they kind of dropped the bomb on me that actually they own 16 properties across Australia, that they were multi-millionaires, and that they were retiring. And they were around about my age now, so they were early 40s. So that was a real eye-opener to me when I was a teenager. And so they slid a book across the table, which was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Some of you may be familiar with it, by Robert Kiyosaki. And I read it cover to cover, fell in love with property investment. And so when I came back, I just sought out a career, in property. So I went to work for a company called Choices down in the southeast of England. That's where I met my good friend here, Matthew, business partner. I started off in home sales, got moved into investments, which is what I wanted. I worked my way up to be director, and really I was in that sort of driving seat. I was in the front seat of the property investment industry. I was seeing this new evolution of property investment unfold in front of my eyes. And what I recognized was that there was a space for a national lettings company to work with people that were investing that way. So that's where I come into it. Matt?
Hi, everyone. I got into this to become a landlord, not to become an estate agent. I've always been super passionate about property, wanted to get into property and build on an investment and build a portfolio. That's what my drive is, and that's why I got into the industry. So I started about 20 years ago working for Choices, started at the very bottom, was a negotiator, was doing all the viewings, did my time on the tools, learned the industry the hard way, going out, doing the hard graft, doing those late night viewings, getting those deals in. And then very quickly got into management, and then into regional, and then all the way up to lettings director there. Done 20 years doing lettings. I've also just coming up to 20 years being a landlord as well. Just gives me an insight to what it's like on your side of the camera as well. So I know what it's like, for you sitting there and being a landlord. It's helped me with my position here and understand what's important and what we need to do to provide the best service that we can for you guys. So that's a bit about me.
Yeah, so essentially you've got an absolute lettings guru and a property investment guy that will speak your language. So about the company, so 20 odd years ago, 15 years ago, if I can take you back, we used to have shows on the TV like Homes Under the Hammer. Sarah Beanie, was the hot thing. I think Sarah Walker before that. People were watching shows and they were talking around the dinner table saying, I'm going to go and get a sledgehammer from B&Q and I'm going to go and find a property with a local estate agent and I'm going to knock a wall down, put a new kitchen in, new bathroom. I'm going to flip it and I'm going to make £20,000, £30,000. And people did do that. That actually did happen and people made money actually pretty easy. But guess what? Once everyone starts doing something, it's supply and demand. Just the margins were just getting smaller, smaller, smaller. So that way of investing in property, that dried up. Habits do change. We don't even watch TV anymore. Things do change, habits change. So what happened was there was this evolution of companies like Portico, actually, who are kind of a leading company in it now. They would go to developers across the country and they would negotiate deals in bulk for 50 units, 100, 200 units. And they would say to a developer, we will give you security and convenience. We will give you all of these sales all wrapped up in a bow, off plan, so you can get easy finance to build out this site. You can get onto project number 2 and 3 and 4. But for that convenience, we want a big discount. We want a bargain price. And they would then take those properties and give them individually to their clients. So that's what Portico essentially do. They scour the country, focus on areas that they think are really good for region, and then they'll negotiate an absolute bargain. They'll give them to investors. But that means it's possible now for someone to be in Dubai and buy a property in Liverpool. They might never have gone to Liverpool in their lives, but they can invest and make money in a city they've never even been to. So buying habits changed, and therefore what we noticed was, well, therefore the supporting services for those investors, they need to change too. And so that's where this concept came. When we thought about it when we were working together, a decade ago, that if we could find a way to create a company that would be able to manage all the properties under one roof, doesn't matter if a property was in Newcastle or Liverpool or London, Cornwall, if we could look after all of those properties for people, then instead of someone needing 3 letting agents and 3 property managers and 3 accounts people, they could have just one, and that would streamline their life. So that's exactly what we've done with Addressed. So we cover the whole of the country. We look after whole portfolios. There's an economy of scale that comes with that. So we save money by looking after more than one property. If we're looking after 3 properties on average per landlord, that's instead of us having to call and inform 3 landlords about 3 properties, we're only having to do it once. So that's good for us. We can pass on that saving to the landlords. The service just feels easier because, as we'll come to tell you, we're really easy to speak to and communicate with on WhatsApp and things like that. So it's just so beneficial, so streamlined, so easy just dealing with one agent for all of your properties. So our goal is to keep landlords as just armchair investors. You're getting into this not because you want to take phone calls on a Sunday from a tenant who doesn't know how to use their boiler and they're just being silly. We'll do that. You can pay us to do that. We'll manage that. You can concentrate on the football or whatever it is, that interests you. So we want to keep you as just armchair investors. You can work with companies like Portico to find the best deals and concentrate on your profession. Whether you're a teacher, lawyer, doctor, whatever, that's what you can focus on. We'll take care of your property business. Now, we do offer all the services that regular letting agents offer. So it's full management. But as well as that, we want you to think of us as your personal assistant to your property investment business. So it's like your PA. So it's lettings and a PA all rolled into one. So we'll go that extra mile way beyond what regular letting agents would do.
So how it works, we have a centralised hub here, and we're actually based down in Kent, the Garden of England.
Beautiful place.
We've got highly qualified staff. They're all very likeable. We've got loads of reviews, which we will speak about a little bit later, and they're easy to reach, our property managers. There's nothing worse. I mean, I call local agents, and 3 out of 4 times they won't even answer the phone. It is unreal. But we are forward thinking with our approach. So we make life as easy as possible. However you want to communicate with us. I mean, back in the old days when I was working in the high street, I would look into my office and everyone would be on the phone. Nowadays, I look into my office and hardly anyone's on the phone because most people want to communicate via email, text, and most people it's WhatsApp, to be honest with you. So we've adapted with technology and make life as easy as possible. And, however you want to communicate, that's what we'll do. And then when it comes to us actually finding a tenant for you, we sort of act as a proxy landlord for you. So we think the way that you would. So if you were putting your property on with a local agent, you wouldn't just put it on with one, because one agent, will just sit on their laurels and There's no urgency with it. What we do is we select 2 market-leading branches and we get them to fight amongst themselves. That way, creating natural competition and getting it let as quickly as possible. That's what we do. And again, when it comes to maintenance, again, we think like you would. If you were getting something done on your property or one of your investment properties, you wouldn't go to the big national agent. You would go local. You would go to a local handyman. And what we do is we go to the local handymen, we go to the local contractors, and they've been tried and tested. So we've got a massive directory of contractors that are tried and proven. We do all the hard work so you don't have to, and we keep it at low cost for you as well.
So just to be absolutely clear about that, because this is a big one in property investment. So if a tenant reports some maintenance work to us, then first thing we do triage. So our property managers will jump onto a video call typically with them. It's very easy these days with WhatsApp. We don't have to go physically to the property. We just jump on a video call. Tenant says, my boiler's not working. So we get them to go with their phone, up to, the boiler. We look at it, typically, might have a little chuckle in our heads and we'll say, like, turn this, do that. And, before you know it, everything's, up and running again. So we avoid having to call anyone out. That's how we try and handle every situation. However, when we really can't avoid calling someone out, it will be local. Same as if at home, I had a leaky tap or it was a drip, I wouldn't call out a 24-hour emergency plumber. You just wouldn't, would you? So we treat it the same. Tenants can be, going crazy, saying it's an emergency, we're going to drown. Please, you need a plumber around here. And we'll calm them down, we'll, talk with empathy, and we try and build really good relationships with them. But we'll explain to them that if it was their own home, they wouldn't spend triple price calling out an emergency plumber for a situation like this. It's fine. We're going to use a great plumber, one that we've used before. We've called them out. They're going to come out in due course. And if it's, if it's a couple of days, until they come out, it's no harm. If it's an emergency, of course, that's different. But we really do try and keep the cost to an absolute minimum. So just so that you guys know that.
Obviously, when it comes to rent as well, we forward that on same day. We work with, or have worked with, or seen other agents, and they can take days to pass on rent. We do it same day. In this day and age, there's no need for rent to be taken a week to get across to you, or 3 days. It should be same day. The facility is there, and we're passionate about that. So as soon as your rent's in, we forward it same day. So there's no dilly-dallying with that as well. Just before you move on, just to look at the accounts as well. What we do is we prepare a nice, easy, simple document for you every year, which covers your whole portfolio. It's got all your income and expenditure report. I mean, it's basically self-assessment ready. That's all you need to do, your self-assessment, and we provide that as part of our service. Other agents charge for that sort of thing. That's just included. That's part of what we do. And the other thing, just to bear in mind before we move on, is we offer long-term let and also short-term let, and you can switch between the two with us. Traditionally, you'll have somebody in long lets and somebody in short-term lets. I don't know of another company that's doing the two, because long-term lets is heavily regulated, short-term lets isn't. So it's not something that normally combines, to be honest with you. So yeah.
Okay. Well, talking of the short lets, the habits for holidays have changed as well. We talked about how the habits for investing changed. Holiday habits have changed as well. I use myself as an example. I'm a family man, wife, 2 kids. At Christmas, we went away for a short city break, stayed in an Airbnb. Next week, my son's got a Frisbee Nationals tournament in Wolverhampton. Believe it or not, there's a national Frisbee tournament. But I'll be staying in Airbnb. As we holiday later in the year, chances are be Airbnb. I'm not saying that we're exclusive to that. I'm not saying the world has abandoned hotels completely. Of course they haven't. But it is a big new phenomenon that is pretty much just a given now. Just at the back end of last year, we came to the conclusion that this thing isn't going away. We've got clients that are consistently asking us, would you do short-term let? I've got another property that, I'm currently doing short-term let. I'd love you to take over. eventually we listened. So we've set up a service that we call Nightly. It's in the name. You know, we rent properties out by the night. And yeah, we're very, very excited about it because there's huge, you know, seems to be huge demand for that. And at the moment, yeah, like Matt said, it's oil and water. You have regulated long-term letting agents, and then you have the modern techie type companies that do the short-term lets completely unregulated. It's like the Wild Wild West. So we're a regulated agent that's coming in and doing short-term let. So yeah, we're really excited, you know, about that and the take-up, the growth for our business. So with short-term lets, obviously, the potential is the higher yields. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But with that higher, the higher rent, on the flip side, it's shorter tenancies, of course. Instead of it being a 12-month tenancy, you know, someone's staying for 2 nights, 3 nights a week. So with that will be more voids, but you know, the nightly rate should balance it out, and typically the gross yields are far higher than a traditional let. So as with the long-term let service, we still use the same local contractors. We've got the property managers with the same philosophy. You know, you can still reach us really easy. Still can log on and you know, see your portfolio, see figures, see what works are going on. So it's still the same normal easy property management, same easy experience for you, you know, as we're going along. The difference, I suppose, is the very start. Our advice, maybe a little bit controversial to what you might have heard from other property investment agents, but our advice is strictly on long-term lets is to rent them out unfurnished. Now, this is years of experience. We've seen that properties, when rented empty, the tenants will stay longer. They will typically take better care of the property as well. The reason being, if they've financially and emotionally invested into your property, and they've, you know, buying furniture and whatnot, they're making it into their nest, you know, and that takes a lot of effort. And so they will generally stay longer. So for long lets, we say rent them unfurnished. But for short-term lets, that simply wouldn't do. You can't ask someone to, you know, to rent for £150 a night and to bring a sleeping bag and, you know, just to sleep on the floor. So you have to provide, you know, the furnishings, the kitchen, all the services need to be there so they're ready to go. So yeah, the difference is in the start. You have to kit the place out. So there's a cost there in the short-term let that you don't have in the long-term let. But with the service, yeah, as you'd expect, we'll prepare the property in the first place, however you want us to do that. We'll take the professional pictures, we'll list it, you know, we'll rent it out, manage the whole property, and just keep paying you the money over. So talking fees,
Fees. So for long-term lets, we've kept things nice and simple. We like to reward loyalty. So we've come up with a concept much like a multi-car policy. So we charge you 10% for your first property, 9% for your second property, and then 8% on the property, on each property thereafter. So yeah, it rewards you. You know, the more you put with us, the cheaper it gets. So yeah, nice and easy to remember, 1098 as well. And we've deliberately kept our auxiliary costs low. Again, this is one of the benefits of me being a landlord as well. You know, there's nothing worse than just having that charge out of the blue for nothing. It's, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, to send a income and expenditure report. It's a click of a button. Why are agents charging £50 to £100 to do that? It's ridiculous. So we've learned not to bite the hand that feeds us. So we keep our costs down to as minimum as possible because, you know, we're here for the long term. I've still got landlords that I've been dealing with for the last 20 years. You know, I want to be dealing with you for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah, so we're going to give you the best service that we can.
Yeah, what we notice with the traditional lettings market, and anyone here that's an existing landlord, you probably can relate to this. Traditional letting agents, they talk about the percentage fees for the management, but what they don't talk about is those extra costs that they add in at every opportunity. We recognize that's a big reason for why people leave the letting agents. So we've done away with that, and we try and keep those ancillary costs to an absolute minimum. Overseas landlords tax setup, NRL1, we don't charge for it. Most agents do, or they don't want to get involved. Selective licensing, free of charge. serving legal notices free of charge. You know, a lot of agents will slip in charges absolutely everywhere they can, partly because there was the ban on charging tenants, you know, a few years back, and that hurt letting agents' cash flow. But we've deliberately kept those to an absolute minimum to keep you happy over the long term. And the way that affects our business model is it means you'll stay with us longer and you'll give us additional properties. And therefore, overall, our portfolio grows and we're bigger and more successful as a result. So, you know, we're thinking of you, but it helps us as well. Where are we? Short-term lets. Okay, so as you can see, 17, 16, 15, similar to the long lets. The more properties you give us, the cheaper it gets. The obvious difference there, though, is the percentages are higher to start with. Why is that? Well, should be pretty obvious. Instead of us doing one let every 2 years, which is what we have to do for an average long let, with short-term let, we might be moving in 100 people a year. You know, so instead of dealing with one family, we're dealing with 100. So there's a lot more work that goes into it. You'll find those prices are actually competitive and a little bit below market rates. But yeah, remember the rentals are higher to start with, so hopefully that balances out for you. So we have the accelerated rental plan that we do exclusively, with Portico. So you might have seen that already, and this is the big one, which kind of makes this a no-brainer for you. We've really gone to town. We're doing 3 years free property management and 3 years rent protection for every one of the Portico clients. Every time that you go and purchase a property with them, you can take advantage of our accelerated rental plan. The reason it's called that is by keeping the cost down, keeping your cost down, it's increasing your return on your investment. So your net yield is higher essentially, and so that's where the accelerated bit comes from. Yeah, we're doing 3 years free management and 3 years free insurance. Rent protection, just to be clear, if we move a tenant in, and of course they'll be referenced and therefore they're eligible for the rent protection insurance. If a tenant loses their job and they can't pay the rent, the insurance will. And because we've organised it, we will do the admin of going out and collecting it. So if we move the tenant in and the rent's £1,000, you will definitely get that £1,000. So it's bulletproof essentially. You might be asking yourself, why on earth would anyone do 3 years free? No one does that. Matt doesn't want to work for free for 3 years. I don't. The team, don't. They wouldn't. We have to still pay them. The reason we've done this though is because we're no different from the developers. We're completely allured, by the scale, of Portico. They are leading the way at the moment. No doubt you've seen some of their deals. They're massive city centre properties, which will be super easy for us to rent out. So we cannot wait to get our hands on them. And it's just massive exposure. We're here today getting to meet you guys. But as well as that, we'll have throughout the year be introduced to many hundreds of their investors. So yes, we will work for free for 3 years. We're putting skin in the game. But again, we know our business model. We know on average 50% of landlords have more properties, and therefore if we do a good job, they'll give us those additional properties. And on those ones, they'll pay us. So it's a terrific deal. You won't find that anywhere else. I'm very confident no one else in the industry is offering that. So it should make it a no-brainer for you. But hopefully tonight, seeing us, meeting us, we're the directors. The team are like us, really nice, hardworking, enthusiastic guys. So hopefully the two things, a great offer. It's free, and you get to see us and like the company. Hopefully it should be a win-win. So in case you're wondering who about credibility, check our reviews. We've got amazing Google reviews. We're members of Safe Agent, the Property Ombudsman, the client accounts are protected, and we pay out rent same day. So you're in safe hands, and we've won awards. Our team have won awards. So I'm sure you'd be very happy with us. Let's talk some practicalities. We're full-time, so you don't have to be. There is a difference between being an investor and a landlord. So when you start dealing with us, it's probably because you're about to complete on a property. When you're dealing with Portico, you're dealing with them as an investor. When you deal with us, you're a landlord. Landlords have different responsibilities. They have legal responsibilities.
He's going to pass it over to me now because it's the boring bit. So landlord responsibilities. Unfortunately, there's over 170 bits of regulations that you as a landlord have to be up to date with. So we're here to do that for you. Who's got time for 170 different bits of regulation? Unfortunately, I have to be. But just to give you some insight of the sort of things, obviously there's safety certificates, and that's always ever evolving. You know, back in when I first started, it was just a gas safety certificate. Now it's gas safety, electrical, fire doors, rights of rent. The list is endless, but we're basically here to do that all for you and to make that as simple as possible.
Yeah, we really will make it simple. So on completion, we will send you a service agreement by email. We use Adobe. It's like a DocuSign, couple of clicks, and you're instructing us. We can work on your behalf. We'll pick up the keys. We just ask you to let us know, do you want long let, short let? If it's short let, do you want to furnish it yourself, or do you want us to do it? And then also, if it's a new build, what do you want to do about snagging? Do you want us to organise the snagging for you and get it all corrected? So it's easy. You could do it in a few minutes, and that's you gone from being an investor, completing, instructing us, your job's done. So it's all try and make it as easy as possible. In regards to the finances, someone we often get asked about the pressure in finding a new tenant. A little quirk with with investing in property is mortgages start usually a month after you complete. So you pay the mortgage in arrears. The rent is paid in advance. So long as we move a tenant in for you within the first 30 days, we'll actually be able to give you money, rental money, before your first mortgage payment comes out. So that's just to make life easier on you again. So the differences between long and short let. So with long let, it's tried and tested. The AST rental contract has been around since 1989, I think. So
correct.
Yeah, everyone knows what to expect. High demand, there's low supply, so it's low risk. Typically, you'll start with around about 7% yield with these kind of deals that Portico would find for you. Which is good. It goes up as time goes on. Matt was actually telling me he was just looking at one of his older ones, and he's getting 14% now just because rents, they just keep going up. You've got lower setup costs because you rent it empty. It's a consistent income, and you have that rent protection, so it's bulletproof. Short lettings, though, is slightly different. Well, it's the opposite. It's an emerging market. There's higher risk with it, but you start with a 14% gross yield or something in there or thereabouts. There's the higher setup costs because you've got to furnish it. The income is inconsistent because it's seasonal. Novembers, Januaries, they're not good times. But in the summer you're going to get more, so it is seasonal. London, we've got the restriction of the 90 days, and there's no rent protection. So it's higher risk with a short-term let, but potentially straight off the bat there's higher income. Liverpool and Leicester. Well, if you're watching this, it's because you've been speaking to Portico, and you've probably seen they've got the great deals in Audley House or Vera Mitchell in Leicester. So just quickly from our perspective, we're lettings guys. We've looked at these already and we've set out our stall. We don't want to be involved in short-term let unless there's a 70% occupancy or greater. We're confident in both of these locations, both of these properties to fulfill that. If you do go AST, we're achieving typically a 1-week void period between an old tenant and a new tenant. So that's probably just to manage your expectations. That's probably what you can expect. It will be so easy if you do go to long let, and if you go short-term let, be really exciting. So in summary, we're full-time, so you don't have to be. Think of us as your personal assistant. Don't think of us just as a letting agent. We will manage your whole portfolio for you and just make your life so easy, like having a personal assistant. We'll work seamlessly with Portico on completion, so they will tell us about your completion. We'll pick up the keys, and with us, you'll get that 3 years free management, 3 years free rent protection. We'll aim for 5%. We'll aim for higher than a 5%, but we're very confident we'll get at least a 5% rent increase. We've been doing 10% or more recently, all you've really got to do is just choose between the long let and short let, and your work will be done. So Dan, that's us. Back to you, my friend.
Oh no, great. Thanks, guys. Great insight to address to the services that you offer and everything else. And I think for a lot of people with us this evening, you may have properties of your own. You may have your own property that you live in, your investment property. You might even have a portfolio. You know, the ideal scenario is for us as a business, for Portico, is to help you buy more, help you build a portfolio. Obviously, if you've got a company that's managing your portfolio and managing your properties and not doing a great job, Matthew can explain, you know, how they can do a much better job in what they do. So there's an opportunity to, you know, to speak with those guys as well, and you know, discuss some of the services and the offerings that they've mentioned tonight. So yeah, so I think now is the time for our Q&A. There's a lot of questions in our chat box that we need to cover off. What I'll do is I'll go through the questions that have been collated for me, for Portico as a whole. There's some really key questions there. Then I'll pass over to Martin and Matthew as well after that, with the questions that are being asked of them. But there's still an opportunity, guys, to book in your meeting. So we've got quite a few slots still now being booked. We've got some available still over the next 3 or 4 days. Please book away. As I said, this is an opportunity to go through all of the options together, look at the great investment properties that we have, discuss some of the new projects that will launch as well later this year and how you can be involved in that if you become an existing client of ours, and more. Please book away. Okay. So here's a question here from Mohammed in Nigeria, I can see. Okay. So Mohammed asks me, first of all, can I get a mortgage from Africa, from Nigeria? Yes, you can, Mohammed. You can quite easily get a mortgage, no problem. We can get you a loan to value with UK banks of around 60 to 65% in some cases, depending on the lender. So that's no problem at all. He's also asked if equity comes into this, like I've discussed today. Yes, it does. So if you take out a mortgage in the UK, you can benefit from the equity release and more to help you build a portfolio later on. And you do not need any ties to the UK at all. Okay, so that's really, really key. Another question here from Jack in the UK. Is there a big SDLT difference from the 1st of April? Okay, so that's stamp duty, all right, for anyone that doesn't know. Now, an example of this, Jack, is today, when Labour came into power last year, what they announced was a 2% jump from the 3 to the 5 the same day. The midnight that day, it came into effect. So everyone that was looking to complete the following day, they had to fork out an additional 2% on their property transaction if they were buying an investment property, an additional property, or an additional home. Okay, so today that is still the same. It's 5% on properties. Now, from the 1st of April, the difference will be, let's say, here's a perfect example for you. £200,000, okay, is the equivalent of £10,000 in stamp duty. Okay. Now, from the 1st of April, £200,000 is the equivalent of 11.5k in stamp duty. Now, so it's only a £1,500 difference. So it's not the end of the world when the new increase comes into play in April. And that is definitely made up with capital appreciation and more over a period of time anyway. Another question here from Abdul in the Middle East, in Dubai, it looks like. So Abdul's asked, why buy off plan? So, well, the benefit to off plan is that you're buying into a new build project under construction, key cities, performing cities, early discounts. You're buying into a project that hasn't been sold before. There's no issues with cladding. There's no fire and safety risks. There's no anything. You're buying a brand new project that will deliver the growth that you expect over time, all in line with legislation, all have 10-year build warranty, and such an attractive investment rather than going for something that's been around for the last 10 to 15 years with possible issues. And you might not be able to get a mortgage on those older properties as well. Okay. How do I release equity is another question from Rosie. So, I mean, very easy. You take out a 2-year or a 3 or a 5-year fixed mortgage product in the UK. When you come to the end of it, you can basically negotiate with the bank, take out the equity that you've built up over a period of time, utilize the equity to buy property number 2, property number 3, and continue that cycle over a period of time. So that seems to be some of the key questions, because we don't have time to cover off everything else there. So any of the sort of questions that have been asked that I don't have time to answer, we can certainly get those over to you in the chat box as we end this meeting, as we end this webinar this evening. So now we've got some questions for addressed. Martin, Matthew, if you just want to jump back on, we'll just cover off a couple of questions, key questions that we have here, and then we can wrap things up for this evening. So, so guys, what we have is a question which is from, where are we? This question is from Nasir. So Nasir is in Egypt by the looks of it. So will you do the 3 years free management on the short-term let? Is a question.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we do get asked that, a bit, but yeah, no, unfortunately, we won't be able to extend to that. Short-term let is a lot more labour intensive, and so yeah, that's probably going a bridge too far. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan twists our arm, at some point to go a bit further on the short-term let. But yeah, for now, unfortunately not.
No, we're not greedy. We'll stick with the 3 years long term for now. That'll do for now. So another question here from Harry in the UK. Can you help with properties that have tenants in them already?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No problems at all. We actually encourage it. We incentivize people to switch over to us. So it doesn't matter what situation you've got at the moment. We've had one very recently where we've effectively had to rescue the landlord because of the situation they had. Whatever the situation is, we will look at it with a fresh pair of eyes and we will help. There isn't a scenario where we won't say no. So yeah,
interestingly enough, actually, we're probably the hottest agent on doing management takeovers. We've never come across anyone like us that's so keen to take over management mid-tenancy. So if anyone does want to swap a property over to us, we will actually offer out 5% management fee on on any tenancies, but people move across to us straight away. We'll even cover the legal fees for someone to move from their old agent to us. So if there's a leaving fee, we'll pay it. So yeah, that's why we get so many people switch, I think.
Okay. All right, great. Hopefully that answered the question. Then we have from Jack as well. We've got a Jack here who's in Dubai. Okay, so Jack says, do you take properties on in Scotland? I'm assuming he's from Scotland, but do you take properties in Scotland?
Let's ask the Scotsman.
Yeah, I don't sound like it. I was born in Inverness by the Logan monster, but yeah, no, wouldn't touch the properties there though.
In all seriousness though, we have a philosophy that the company leads us. If someone came to us with a large portfolio in Scotland, I'd get trained on it and we'd take it on. But we wouldn't do it for one.
Yeah.
It's different rules, different regulations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, just a couple more questions. Will you do the 3 years free management on other properties?
If other Portico, any time someone buys with Portico, that's our agreement. We will not do that for anyone else or, on any other properties. If you want to move additional properties to us, 5% management fee. That is still market leading, still brilliant. So that's what we'll do. But
a lot of companies are charging 8 and 10% as well, aren't they?
Well, if you go into London, Foxtons, for example, they're charging 18, 19%. So, we'll take something over. You could be currently paying, let's say, 12% with someone, and tomorrow you could contact us and we'll take it on and switch you over to 5%. So you'll save money straight away by moving multiple properties over. Okay.
All right, great. Okay, so we've got another question here from Mohammed. What problems do you foresee with the rental market with the changes coming up?
No problem, to be honest with you. I've been in the industry 20 years. They always throw something at us. This renters' right bill has been going on for forever. I just want it to come in now. I'm bored of it. I sat there and read all 200 pages of it when they were doing it before, and then they redid it again. It's all scaremongering.
He really is that guy, by the way. He really does.
It's all scaremongering. It's not going to be a problem. We're just going to pivot, adapt. move forward. If you want to sell your property, you can still sell your property. If you want to move back into your property, you can still move into your property. It's all scaremongering. Just ignore it. It's absolutely fine. And it's only a good thing. If we're getting more regulated, it only means that we're going to up our game and get better as landlords anyway. So embrace changes. There's nothing to worry about.
Perfect. Okay. And one more question from got another question from Harry here as well. He's a valid point actually. I didn't mention earlier. He's asked the question: when you rent a property in the UK, if you fail to pay your rent, is that now reported on credit reference agencies?
Well, I've been looking into this for a long time. There is a way of doing it. Yes, it can be done. And it's something that I've been investigating and looking at probably for about 10 years, to be honest with you. It'll be the next steps for us. It's something that I'm passionate about and something I want to do because it's twofold. It's good for tenants because tenants have the unfair advantage that a property owner gets their mortgage on their credit file and they don't traditionally have their rent on credit file. But it's twofold. It's also good for a landlord as well because if they don't pay their rent, it's on their credit file. So it's not naturally in place, but it's been on the cards for a long time, and there is ways of doing it, and it is something that something I'm passionate about, and it will come to us. It's not here right this second, but I'll assure you in the next couple of years it'll be here.
Yeah. Because I suppose if anything, that will put even more, not so much fear into the tenant, but it allows the tenant to make sure that they are paying, because if they're saving up for a property that they want to move into eventually and buy their own home, it gives the landlords more security and peace of mind, and knowing that that is the mindset of the tenant. So
what I would add though, Dan, is almost every single one of our landlords has a rent protection, like almost all of them. So if a tenant doesn't pay their rent, it's not the landlord's problem. The insurance company will still go after the tenant. It's just the way that it works at the moment is it will go to court and you get a CCJ, on the tenant, and it will force them to pay. But it doesn't affect the landlords because the insurance will sort all of that out. The landlord will still get their rent regardless. So if you take our advice and you come with us, you get the free rent protection anyway. So it's not really a problem.
The great question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Good. Okay, well, I think that concludes, really. We've gone over time a little bit this evening, but that concludes our questions that we had that we've now answered. If there's any that we've missed, then, we'll certainly answer them in the chat box just after. Hopefully, everyone's had a really good evening, and we've been able to give you, an awful lot of education, really, for you to take away from, who we are as Portico, who Addressed are, what they do. But again, there's another opportunity to get your meeting booked in, your webinar booked in with us to be able to go through that on that journey. So, Matthew, Martin, thank you so much for your time this evening. I know we've got a lot of people that have booked with us tonight, so we'll obviously have the consultations as we go. Hopefully, as we move things forward, Addressed will also be having the same conversations with these clients. And we've got another webinar next month, guys, and this webinar will be very much all about our specialist mortgage broker, who can talk about the mortgage rates, all of the benefits of whether you're a UK investor or more. And yes, Edosa, the session is recorded, so we'll send that over to you after. Our management fees, inclusive of VAT. We've got one last question for Martin to answer.
I'll take that one. No, it's plus VAT. It's
VAT. There we go.
VAT. Any agent that isn't including the VAT means that they're so small that they don't charge VAT. But unfortunately, not fortunately, we are that size, and it is plus that.
Fine. Yeah. So hopefully, Gerald, that answers the question. And any other questions, please pop them in. We'll answer them. And everyone, hopefully, look forward to our next webinar. I'll leave a video here for you to watch, which is a 1-minute video of, again, just Portico. Please watch it. I'll keep the pop-up here for the meetings, just to allow you to have that next 1 or 2 minutes to book your meeting with us. All right. So Martin, Matthew, thanks so much this evening. And
Cheers for having us, Dan.
soon, yeah.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Buy-to-let is still a great way to secure your retirement income. You can get ahead of inflation with high rental yields, grow your capital faster than leaving it in the bank, or create a perpetual passive income for you or your children. Portico Invest offer an end-to-end solution for all your property investment needs, so you can sit back and relax with a fully managed, hassle-free service. We focus on major city centres and UK regional hotspots, offering personalised strategies and tailored property advice. We're a one-stop shop and your personal advisor, empowering your investment journey and making property investment simple. The first step is to book a call and clarify your investment priorities. We'll then review the current properties that match your criteria before providing detailed research and guidance throughout the process, with support from expert legal and financial professionals along the way. So to find out how you can start maximising your returns, register now to get the ball rolling with Portico Invest.